Officials in Cyprus struggling to avoid a financial meltdown after its parliament rejected an international bailout package that would have taxed savers and depositors. Michelle Cabrera is on the ground right now. She joins us live with the very latest from Cyprus. Over to you, Michelle.
Hey there, Maria. The very latest was that the Cyprus Parliament tried a Plan B, which included in part trying to raid a pension fund, cash in the pension fund used now and then promising to pay the workers later. But their European partners said, no, that's not going to work because all you're going to do is defer liabilities. It doesn't actually help your debt profile. So we don't like that. So now they're working on Plan C. The question is, what is that? Here's the very latest. The bank holiday, as a result of all this indecision and inaction, has been extended, and now it looks like the banks will not open until Tuesday of next week. A full week without the banking system operating. The Minister of Finance is in Russia trying to square away a deal there. We haven't had any good results from there. And then very, very worrisome, a member of the ECB talking even tougher late today, suggesting that if they don't come up with a deal here in Cyprus soon, where Cyprus somehow contributes 5.8 billion euros to its own rescue efforts, that they could possibly cut off liquidity. What does that mean? Let's show you the video. Right now, since the banks are closed, people can only use ATMs. And we're lucky in this day and age. We have ATMs, so that's an option. Remember in the days when there were no ATMs and then you couldn't get money for days at a time, for example, during the Depression? So the ECB has been flying in cash and supplying the ATM machines so people can get out money. But businesses can't get their working capital. And if the ECB suddenly decides to cut the country off, because in theory they shouldn't be helping out insolvent banks that are here, then you could have a complete financial collapse. So the government's got to do something. Maria, back to you.
Oh, Michelle, the options here are just extraordinary. Michelle Cabrera on the ground right now in Cyprus. Thank you so much. The Cypriot government is looking for any alternative it can find rather than accept that EU proposal. Earlier today, Cyprus's finance minister, Michalis Saras, was in Moscow, as you just heard, meeting with the Russian counterpart. Saras is trying to get a new loan while extending a current loan with more favorable terms. He walked away from the meeting without a deal. He says he'll stay in Moscow, though, to continue these negotiations. George Theocharides is an assistant professor for finance at Cyprus International Institute of Management. He says the demands being imposed on Cyprus are unfair. Good to have you on the program, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
So what is the message sent when Cyprus would rather negotiate and deal with Russia rather than the EU? What's the message that the Cypriot officials would rather negotiate with Russia than the EU?
Look, I mean, it was a decision that was taken by the Eurogroup last Friday, which I think the whole world understands that it was an unfair decision. It was the first time that the European Commission and the ECB that decided to have a haircut on depositors, which has never been done anywhere else. Basically, our Parliament, our President came back with suggestion by the Eurogroup that we have to do a haircut on depositors in order to save Cyprus. The Parliament decided that this is an unfair decision. You don't take money out of insured depositors. I mean, we're talking about even insured depositors, because according to the rules of the European Union, up to 100,000 euros, they're supposed to be protected by the central bank and by the ECB. And now we're having a haircut on insured depositors. So this was a decision taken by the Eurogroup that could not be accepted by our Parliament. And yesterday there was a vote at the Parliament. They decided that we cannot go ahead with this decision. And now we're looking at a Plan B. The Troika, basically, they told us that you have to find the 5.8 billion euros because they're giving us 10 billion euros for the rescue of Cyprus, and they said that if the rest of the 5.8 billion euros, you have to find them. And our government is trying with different ways to find that amount of money. And we came up with a lot of suggestions today to Troika, but unfortunately they are rejecting all of our suggestions.
Well,
and we have close ties with Russia. I mean, yes.
Well, were you surprised?
Yes.
Were you surprised in the fact that Parliament rejected this proposal? I mean, what is the risk in rejecting the EU's idea for a bailout?
Well, I mean, we understand that there's a lot of risk here involved. I mean, we know that our banking sector is actually having major financial troubles. We know that one of our major banks, like Bank, is actually has been providing liquidity from the ELA, the Emergency Liquidity Assistance of the European Central Bank. So we understand the risks involved. But this is something that we could not accept. And I'll tell you the reasons why we could not accept it. It's not just the loss that we have from insured or even uninsured depositors, but it's because we are a financial center. The whole economy of Cyprus the last 15, 20 years has been built on this issue of being a financial sector, of having good reputations to our foreign clients, right, whether they are coming from Russia or other European countries. And what these
I understand the hopes.
Excuse me?
Bottom line, do you think Cyprus is going to go bankrupt?
No, I think at the end of the day a solution will be found. I don't know if there's going to be involvement by Russia as well, but I think at the end of the day there has to be a solution for Cyprus, and I think it will be found. I mean, there is the desire by our government not to let the economy collapse, and I think the Europeans, they don't want Cyprus to collapse as well. I mean, they don't want, at least to my opinion, they don't want a country that is part of the Eurozone left alone and right, having to get out of the Euro or the European Union. I don't think it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen is that there's going to be a painful agreement for Cyprus, right, but I think at the end of the day there's going to be a solution to this problem.
George, good to have you on the program. We so appreciate your time. George
Yes.
Theocharides joining us on the ground tonight.